Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Team Pagination regular Monday night training call. And as we do this every Monday, we're now 7 p.m. as we do this. And I'm grateful to have everybody on here. We have a lot of calls every week, and I know that the trainers that we bring on and myself are always grateful for people taking the time out of their week to learn a bit from our dearly beloved associates, partners, friends. And I think it's a great forum that we can all use to invite guests to. We stream it live on our team Facebook page, Team Pagination, but it's not just for team members. This is we've decided that we want to keep this open for guests, people that may want to learn a little bit more about not only our products, but about techniques and so on that we're using that may give them a little boost in making a decision to come join us and link arms with us. And so it's, great pleasure for me to have Barb Anstead on our call tonight. Barb's local sort of to my area, not that far, about 40 minutes from where I live in the Brantford area. She's down towards the lake. And Barb is a registered nutritional therapist with over 30 years experience in educating and empowering motivated individuals in supporting their health and wellness journey. And Barb you've been with this company now, Barb, for 6.5 years now, I believe.
I have, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
six and a
it's
half
been
years. So
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we're all grateful to have you. So it really gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest trainer this evening on our call, December 11th, Barb Anstead. So take it away, Barb.
Thanks so much, Terry. And thank you everybody for being on the call tonight. This is, where growth happens, where we really, are so blessed when we can lean into the really special people that we have available to us. And none of us are in this business alone. And these calls, when we get a chance to be on them, it really reinforces that because with my background as a registered nutritional therapist, um, I like acronyms. And one of the acronyms that I use often is what I call the Knack Approach with my clients. And so in my nutritional practice, that stands for knowledge, nutrition, application, and commitment. And it was a very easy shift, when I bring the technology into sort of the awareness of my clients is that it becomes knowledge, neurotech, application, and commitment. And so it's very easy for myself within my practice because I've always carried a lot of technology on hand in my office. I don't always bring it up to my clients immediately because it doesn't always, it's about building that relationship first. But the important thing for all of us to understand is that the whole business, it is about that heart-centered sharing. It is about building relationships. And over the years with my nutritional practice, many of the things that I've learned through that have also, translated easily over into being a practitioner and an associate with Vox and Superpatch, because that sort of need to have that knowledge base, right? And we have our back office. I have a binder I keep handy. I mean, we have all of these hands-on resources, but the knowledge really, it's up to us as individuals to make sure we're leaning into the tools that are supplied for us. And especially nowadays, because the commitment to compliance has become a big deal. So for, whether you're new to the company or, an right from the get-go sort of person with the company, that compliance has become a big deal. So we do need to lean into that. But as far as knowing yourself and growing yourself, I think that I really wrestled for a while personally that I'm not one of these movers and shakers with the company. I don't have a huge team. My style And the way that I've built my clientele with the technology isn't necessarily the same as anybody else's style. It's about, for me, educating my clients first on the technology, making sure that they understand that they have a long-term commitment. It's helping them understand through asking many, many questions: what, why, how, when, where, all of these things. Asking those questions to make sure that they understand how it fits in their lifestyle and why they can benefit from it, but also making sure that I'm answering all of their questions satisfactorily. It's in essence, we're qualifying one another. And that's something in my nutritional practice that when I first started out, I was so grateful for any client. It was a matter of, it was just exciting to have somebody. But over the course of time, it's become more precise. It's become more of a different type of mission, because I've understood how important it is that I need to be qualifying the people that are interested in this technology. So it's building their knowledge and confidence, but it's also about asking those questions of them about how the technology is going to benefit them. But most people, that's what they want to know right off the bat. Will it help this? Will it help that? And that's where, our compliance with our verbiage is so important with the technology, because, there have been a lot of testimonials from people, and people have had some really astonishing results from the tech, but we can't use that as if this product is in any way a cure, and a standalone and we can't use the words healing, things like that. So it's very, very important that we're representing ourselves and the technology and the company, because, we've had to go through a lot of changes with the company, and that is all very important for us to stay abreast of that. So we want to nurture our people. We want to qualify them. We want to ask all of those really, really important questions. But it is a mutual relationship. It's understanding that we're benefiting each other in that relationship. And, I, in between, very briefly, between my career as a registered nutritional therapist, and prior to the Vox and Super Patch, I worked at a Leon's for about 6 months, and it was a great way to make money. Commissions, not multi-level, but essentially, that sort of thing. And when I left after 6 months, the company was really, really surprised. Like, well, why are you leaving? You're a top salesperson. And they gave me this book called Who Moved My Cheese? And I'm like, okay. Well, I read the book, and I went back, and I said, this is a great book. I loved it. But my cheese is in a different maze. So, it's understanding that everything that was happening in that particular company, there were so many variables that were always going to affect my ability to succeed, that were beyond anything that I could do to change that. And that was what I decided. It's like, no, I prefer a different methodology. And that's what I absolutely love about Super Patch, is because for all of us, that success is there if we're stepping into those proper, channels, and doing our research, and not waiting for somebody else necessarily to spoon feed us what it is. That it's tempting, right? Because you want to hit the ground running, but it's that knowledge, building that knowledge, and then nurturing your people, asking those questions, but then committing to these calls, committing to doing that research so that you're comfortable with it, committing to doing the demo, sharing, training, follow-ups. The follow-ups are huge for all of us. So, it's knowing your client and getting those clients. That's only the smallest part of it. We need to learn by doing. That's one thing. Anytime one of our associates, Wanda Rowe, is a good friend of mine, and she's a fitness trainer, and I love how she says that wobbles count. We're not necessarily going to be perfect at something the first time we do it. We need to really practice it, and then we stop wobbling so much, and then we can master a new skill. And she's a great inspiration to me. But yeah, so we want to learn by doing. We need to be prepared. So whether you're doing a show, okay, so you're making sure you've got adequate inventory, your business cards, these things. It's always being prepared with the types of things that you need if you're going to be doing a show. And then practice. We need to practice, practice, practice. And the more practice we get, the more confident we become. uh, we have more knowledge about the product than the person that we're talking to. But people respect when we don't have an answer right away is that, you know what, I'm not sure about that. I will get that information for you. And then following up and making sure that you do, because I'm not a neurologist, I'm a nutritionist. I don't pretend to understand how this technology was first created. I understand how it works. I understand the receptors, all of those things from my anatomy and physiology training, but I don't pretend to be a neurologist. So be who you are, know who you are, know the way that you're comfortable introducing this, and don't expect to be top of the heap right from the get-go. We have to just build towards that, and it needs to feel really heart-centered for you, to become much, much more comfortable. Once you've got that knowledge, you're going to gain more knowledge. And also with that knowledge, we need courage and commitment. And that confidence that we have, action will follow once we have that confidence. Don't expect yourself to be perfect. None of us are. And it's not, it's as much as we want it to be a marathon, sometimes it's more like interval training. Sometimes we're sprinting, and sometimes you have to catch your breath before you can finish, what it is that you're starting. But yeah, it's I'm open to any questions too, if anybody's got any questions that have popped up so far, Terry. Um, yeah.
Let me just check in the chat here, Barb, and just see.
Okay.
I don't think I see any at this point.
Okay.
I think we're
All
all
right.
good. People, lots.
Good.
Yeah, all good so far. So I'll keep my eye.
Okay. Okay. That's excellent. Yeah, so I know for myself in my practice, when I have a client, it's going to be different as a practitioner than it will be for an associate, right? Because it's already a different type of relationship that I'm building with my clients. As a nutritionist, when they're in my office, they already understand this isn't generally going to be a one-off appointment with me, right? They understand that there will be follow-ups, that there will be steps, and there will be a different level of commitment to one another, that there is a lot of coaching involved. It's wonderful because I can do a meal plan for somebody, right? I can give them a week's worth of recipes, and I can give them all of these steps. But people find a hard time changing sometimes. And what's amazing about incorporating the technology into it is that this gives them measurable results generally very, very quickly, without them having to actually start any of those changes right off the bat. But I know for myself, I like to dedicate myself to not having products ever returned. And in 6.5 years, I've only twice had people want to return something. And the first one was, she insisted that the blue no-shows were tighter than the other color that she wore. And she was insistent. And it was like, okay, we'll make it right. Let's get you the other color. Um, and the other one was a little bit of a faulty part within the knee support. But it's making those things right. It's making sure that you're following up with people, because that follow-up means the world to people when they know that you're not just trying to make a sale off of them, that they know you're really committed to them being successful with the product. Because it isn't something. I do get the question quite often, well, now that I'm wearing this, do I have to wear that forever? And it's like your glasses, right, Terry? Your glasses are a technology, and as long as they're on you, they're helping. If it's over on the table, your glasses are still a great technology, but they're not doing anything for you. So that's part of qualifying people, is understanding that, well, no, you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do, but you will benefit more by committing to using it on an ongoing basis. So yeah, that qualifying part of it, that making sure that every person that you're sharing the technology with, that they understand that this is going to be of huge benefit for them for the rest of their life. Uh, I do get the very occasional person that, even after I've done the demo on them, they're like, I don't think it's doing anything for me, and that's because your brain is not alarmed by normal. Normal is, that homeostasis or balance that liberty brings us back to. uh, Once the brain is in that state of normalcy, it doesn't get triggered by being in that state. So a lot of people are under the misconception that the technology is not actually doing anything for them anymore. So it's like, well, do the balance demo with them again, reiterate the other benefits of the technology, make sure that they have that information. If they want the white paper studies, make sure they have that. But just really qualify and make sure that your people do understand, even if they've sort of come back to a better balanced state of brain and body, that they are still actually benefiting from the technology.
Um,
A lot of
Question, Barb,
yes.
came in. Exactly what is a nutritional therapist, and how do you incorporate the super patches or introduce them in your practice?
Okay, great question. So, registered nutritional therapist. Some of the other names for it would be natural nutritional clinical practitioner, holistic nutritionist, holistic practitioner. There are a number of different uh, designations that it falls under, but basically it's 35 years of training in the holistic field, and my diploma is actually as a nutritional practitioner. And now I have the therapist sort of designation with that as well. So I work with people with all facets of their well-being, physical, mental, emotional, all of those things. And so the technology is a huge um, component of that, because if somebody comes in and they are struggling with their stress levels, well, introducing them to the Liberty and the Peace Patch is a very, very easy thing for me to do, because they can get an immediate benefit from those things as a general rule. And so if they have immediate results from that, then they're able to lean more deeply into the other recommendations that I help them implement for themselves. Uh, the freedom patch for pain, for instance, if somebody comes in and they're following a diet and lifestyle that's contributing to a great deal of inflammation in their bodies, then it's like, okay, you can do this, this, and this, but in the immediacy, because you're in pain that's stopping you from being physically active, this might be a choice for them. If they're having sleep problems, it's a matter of, okay, is there a stress component that's causing problems with your sleep as well? Is it pain that's interfering with your sleep? So it is just so many questions. And an initial consultation is usually about an hour and a half in length. But to have somebody, um, and I started in the field because my children had a lot of health problems when they were small. And that was what cemented my passion in the field and caused me to, do the schooling that I did. But I actually had a little girl in my office a couple of weeks ago with attention deficit disorder, and she was bouncing like Tigger. And her mom was an ECE, an early childhood educator, but it was the grandmother that was also with them that had sort of prompted the whole consultation in the first place, because she was very concerned about her little granddaughter. So as soon as she came into my office, I had this little girl say, you've got a really pretty, unusual name. Do you think you could spell it for me? And so I handed her a piece of paper, and she takes the paper and she does a line that just goes off on an angle, and her letters are all over the place. And I'm like, okay, and then I put a sleeve on her, one of the e-smarter sleeves. And then 5 minutes later, I asked the same little girl, do you think you could print your name for me again? And so she takes another piece of paper and she puts a line, and she's like, looks like I did it with a ruler. And it was like she knew immediately how differently the technology was affecting her. And then she did her letters, and her A was just, to a peak, like, and her mom was just blown away. So there are always, I always look for that opportunity to introduce the technology within a consult if it feels authentic. It's not something, sometimes people can come for 2 or 3 consultations before it actually becomes something that we discuss as another tool for them. It's like the Ignite patch. If somebody's eating habits are deplorable, I don't introduce them to the Ignite patch in my office, because I want them to change a few habits and educate them in other ways before we offer that as a tool. I don't want people walking around like human sticker books if there's something that they can do in their everyday that's going to help support them as well. I see them as it's like supplements, right? That I don't like to see people use supplements if they can change things about their eating habits. So it's always those questions. It's always understanding what somebody's financial restrictions might be. There are just so many things that I make sure I go through with my clients before we go down that path. Oh, Terry, I've
Sorry,
lost
Barb,
you.
sorry. Yeah, that's a very thorough answer, and thank you for that. As a practitioner, do you carry inventory, and if so, are you using and inputting information of the customer into the I Love My Customer program in order for their 30-day warranty? So that's one question, and then the second question is, do you offer your clients the opportunity for them to purchase from your website so they can qualify for their 25% customer program?
Okay. Yes. So many of my clients are in sort of an older bracket. So I would say that the majority of them prefer to buy from me within my office. There are definitely ones that I introduce to it, so that they have those options. I haven't really leaned into the I Love My Customer app, um, simply because I find all of the different places that I have to do reports and paperwork that I don't usually take that extra step to use that tool. It is a wonderful tool. I think that especially if somebody's first starting out, please do get familiar with that and use that. But I have other ways of monitoring it, and I generally, as I said, I've only ever had that 2 returns anyway. So it's not, I think if that was a bigger problem in my office, then I would definitely do that differently. Um, and for anybody just starting out, yeah, it would be a good habit for somebody to get into.
Yeah,
But yeah.
exactly. And I
Hmm.
think you, as a practitioner, it's nice to have that personal touch, I think, too, Barb.
Yeah.
You have a solution for them to try. They don't, and a lot of people aren't tech savvy, so it's very hard for them sometimes to go on to a replicated website and figure that out, especially as you said, if your clientele is a little bit older.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense. And the other question that has come in: do you have products on display at your office to prompt curiosity and possibly be able to start conversations?
I do. They're not front and center, but they're at hand very readily. I don't ever want somebody coming in for a consultation and feeling pressured in any
Mhm.
way, that I have supplements available or that I do have the technology available. Um, it's it's a relationship that I'm building with them, and it's if I'm at a show, that's a different thing, right? If I'm doing an event or something, it's a different scenario. But within that office, I want to build that relationship first. And so yes, they are there. If the opportunity to share information with somebody comes up, I'm not hesitant to plant those seeds, but I generally that isn't the way that it necessarily goes, even
Right.
though, there's product there. I've got my Neuro Man over there. So I mean it's visible, but it's not
Front and
prevalent
center.
within
Yeah.
my
No,
office. Yeah.
that's a great answer. That
Mhm.
really makes a lot of sense, because I don't think any of us, it doesn't matter what store you go into, whether it's a retail store, it used to always bother me that as soon as you walk in the store, you get people that almost pounce on you and say, "Can I help you? Can I help you?" Like, dude, I just walked in the store here. Give me a second to breathe. Um,
Yeah.
so it makes a lot of sense, but it's also very savvy to know that they are on display.
Mhm.
And they don't always have to be front and center to attract attention either
Exactly.
in some cases. But leaning back into, your I've known you for a while now, Barb, and you do know yourself. And I think you've grown with this company because, as your title says, know yourself to grow yourself. And you've been so consistent in your um, in your presentation, in your personality, and we have so many personalities in this. And I think it's really important, the title, that you do know yourself, because you don't want to be somebody else. You don't want to. We have tons of different characters, different personalities in this company. And I think it's very important to know yourself. And we all have different speeds we travel at. Just watch people in a mall, how fast some walk and some don't walk. So they all have different
Mhm.
speeds. And I think we, have the same thing when it comes to how we build this business, how we present the products and so on. And it's not a race. But,
No.
from a practitioner's perspective, I think it's so important to know yourself so that you present in a way that isn't spammy, and you're offering a solution for them and giving them enough information so that they can make an informed decision. And with that, I think you're growing. You're
Yeah.
growing in your presentation. You're able to present in a way that is very professional. And
Thank you.
yeah. So let me just check and see if there's any more questions here,
Okay.
Barb. Um,
Hey Terry, if I could just jump in quick.
sure.
Sorry, I've been having some internet issues and this we had to power out here for 3 hours today.
Nice.
Um, great job, Barb, of what I saw. You're always
Thanks, Paul.
you do. I just found out something interesting today on the big topic of compliance when it comes to practitioners, which is important. Is now there used to be a rule that they had to be parallel. Well, that's now changed. So a practitioner can now sign up as an associate and sign themselves up under themselves. So
Hmm.
they can
Oh,
join the clinic underneath themselves. So moving forward, just everybody should know that, because that can sort of maybe have somebody say, well, that doesn't make sense, or, I don't want to do it because I can't do that. Well, now you're allowed to. So That has
Okay.
changed now.
Are they
So
gonna send out a message? Because it always seems like we hear things sort of third hand. Like,
my
you know,
gosh, today's been a roller coaster, and yesterday. So I hope I will get them to do that. I hope, or we will get them, whatever it takes,
yeah.
get that message out there, because it's I didn't know this, and I guess the whole time we've been sort of been told the wrong way.
So can you move yourself with strategic
Well,
place?
this is the thing existing that I don't know, but maybe if you do sign up as an associate, they might probably move that underneath. I would imagine that would,
Right.
I would hope so, but I'll clarify that as well.
But
But I
if
thought that was,
if you're building a team and you're a practitioner and you sign yourself up as an associate, can you strategically place yourself under somebody else, right?
yeah, I mean, there you go, right? That there's questions now about it, because now my mind's going, whoa, this is news to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, I appreciate knowing it now, and I figured that fits right with tonight's call.
Well,
that,
no, those are going to be the questions we get for sure, as to, can we strategically place ourselves, right?
yeah,
To help
Right.
somebody achieve rank or whatever the case may be. You'll still always be on your front line, so to speak, right? And
yeah,
the volume always travels up. But if your practitioner account is on the top, you're not building a team anyway, so it's just volume, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
So
So anyways, that's good to know, because you can be an associate, sign your clinic up or underneath yourself. And that used to be called double dipping. Well, apparently it's not. It doesn't now. That just to go to the associate side of things, that doesn't mean you can then sign up your son in the same house. That's double dipping. So that still does not apply to associates. But if you're a healthcare practitioner and you want to build a business, you can enroll yourself under yourself, or your clinic, or your whichever
yeah, well,
scenario.
maybe what we can do, Paul, is when we get a little bit more clarity on it, we'll do a live in the team
Yes.
stage and talk about strategic placement, because it is part of the package, right? And we'll get some clarification on that, and then do it. And
Yeah, because I don't want to have to come to you tomorrow to say you can't, and you realize, but yeah, you actually can. So just ignore the last message.
Yeah.
there was a compliance sheet that was like that today, we talked about, didn't we?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Oh, well, the only
Crazy.
thing that remains constant is change.
Yeah.
Yes.
But anyways, I see we've gone a few minutes over, 4 minutes over. So on behalf of the field and myself and my co-host always, Paul Austin, some nights he's the host, some nights I'm the co-host, doesn't matter. We're just grateful that everyone's here, and we're grateful for those that are stepping up to want to train and add some value to the field. We appreciate you so much. And we have a trainer lined up next week. Also, I wanted to mention that we have a small event. If any of you associates or possibly guests on the call, if you know anybody in Largo, their information in Florida, the information is on our team page at the top. There's in the pinned announcements, gives the address on an Eventbrite link. Please send them to the event on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. here in the lovely state of Florida. We'd be happy to look after them. Myself and Jen Moyer and Linda Burhans, who has Caregiver Radio down here in Florida. We look forward to seeing everybody and sharing this spectacular technology. So just rest assured, if you don't live in this area, but you know people that do, please send them along, and we will certainly look after them. So thank you all so much for being on the call tonight. Appreciate you all a ton, and please feel free to unmute and say goodnight. Thanks, Barb. Appreciate it so much.
You're welcome. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Night
Thanks,
all.
Barb. Thanks,
Night.
Karen. Great call. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you, gang.